Check 1, 2.
Check 1, 2. All right. Hi, everybody, and welcome to a very special Giving Tuesday event presented by Mala, Muslim American Leadership Alliance, and Artist Replete. Really psyched to have with us today Widge, who is a very cool up-and-coming artist. We also have Matthew Moore, who is co-founder of Artist Replete. We'll hear a little bit more about that in a second. And a familiar face, Ahmed Flex Omar, who is a co-founder and deputy director and chief experience officer with Mala as well. So psyched to have all of you here. I think the idea, we were discussing like how this discussion was going to go, and I think it was really important to all of us to kind of talk about connections between artists and the community, what it looks like to connect artists with communities, whether that's their own local community or other sort of larger communities, and then also what empowerment and inspiration look like within those relationships. Before we get into all of that, I just want to give each of the panelists kind of a chance to introduce themselves, say a little bit about who they are, what they do, where they're located, and anything else. Flex, do you want to kick us off?
Yeah, start with me because I've done a lot of these, and mine is going to be short because you can always go on the Mala website and look up the bio. So I'm going to keep it real short. My name's Ahmed Flex Omar. I'm the Deputy Director and also Chief Experience Officer of Mala. And I've been with Mala for a while because one of the co-founders as well. So I'm still working on some other titles to add, but at the moment I've settled on those three. In regards to what I do day to day, I'm basically responsible for making sure that built a community for Mala. Mala is a non-for-profit, it's a storytelling organization. We focus on arts and culture events, and because of the pandemic, things have changed drastically. We've not been able to do any live events, and so first of all, my prayers and heart goes out to everyone that's been affected, and the people that we lost as well. So with that being said, our work has shifted online, and has lended its challenges, but it's really important for a community organization to be in touch, with the community and constantly bring in events that are relevant, to the community. And I believe this one is going to be very interesting because it speaks a lot about our brand and our mission. And I'll leave it at that because I said I'll keep it short.
Awesome. Thank you, Flex. Matthew, you want to say a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, for sure. But before I do, I really want to highlight that I really like the Chief Experience Officer title, Flex. I think that's the first time I've heard that before. So I just wanted to throw some kudos your way. I really like that title.
Thanks,
But
man.
hey everyone, my name is Matthew Moore. I created a company called Artist Replete, which is basically about highlighting artists in the Midwest and throughout the US and one or two in Europe as well. Online, we sell artwork, canvas work, print work. We do branding materials as far as large scale murals, all the way to logos and album covers. And 90% of our approach is online. And then the rest is kind of in the physical world. So that's kind of been our approach from the beginning. And the pandemic has kind of really kind of just shifted our business in a big way where the art industry is very much a physical world industry. And with everything going on, it's been hard to say this, but it's been beneficial for us because we are always kind of been digitally focused, and then physical has always been kind of a secondary world that we live in as well. But with that said, yeah, my name is Matthew. We're based in Chicago, Illinois, but we do business throughout the U.S. And North America for that matter. So yeah, nice to meet everyone.
Awesome. So happy to have you with us. All right, Widge.
Hello, everybody. So I'm so happy to be in part of this. It's really cool. You guys are awesome to work with. And I'm an artist. I'm based in Phoenix, Arizona. And I've been into art for about 7-ish years for real. I started just making art when I was in high school, and it kind of always was where I had fun living. I really enjoyed just creating things. And throughout the years, and just kind of pursuing the passion that I went into, I was able to kind of build a business off of my art. And it's allowed me to travel and go places I never thought I'd be able to go, and meet really cool people that I never thought I'd be able to meet. And really has just all around been such a cool experience and a benefit to my life. So yeah, I'm excited to be here with all you guys, and I'm looking forward to kind of sharing some more of my story with you all.
Awesome. And there's a really, I think between the three of you, a really interesting story to tell here. So I'm excited to kind of get into that. And I want to start kind of, I think, with the art, right? And hoping maybe Widge, you can talk a little, I know you said a little bit, but talk a little bit more about kind of what your journey as an artist has been. What do you find kind of inspiring? Maybe tell us a little bit about the mediums that you like to work with, so we can kind of get a better
idea. For sure. So like, yeah, for sure. Well, just kind of the going, like I said, yeah, I always was working like kind of odd jobs, and it's just, as a creative mind, I guess, I always was kind of unsatisfied with just working normal jobs. And so I really found a passion in being able to express these ideas I had via canvas and drawing and all that kind of stuff. I was able to let people know what I was thinking better than with words. And so while I was working my jobs, I'd always be drawing, or I'd be doing painting on the side, or I used to paint houses too and do all that kind of stuff. And I just never really fell in love with it until I started diving into my own mind and creating art from what I like, my soul basically, and really like really diving deep and figuring out what moves me. And what I try to do with my art is kind of create thought in people and create art that makes people think, maybe sparks some inspiration in them, maybe brings them back to a time that they've forgotten about, or just anything like that. I like stuff that moves people. I like more so stuff that moves you without physically saying words. So that's where I think art is really cool, and its ability to give someone emotion or inspiration without even words being spoken at all. And so that's kind of my passion behind art. And I work mainly with acrylic paints right now, spray paint as well. I've actually just started, this painting right here behind me is one of my first oil paintings I've been doing. So I'm kind of transitioning. I like to work with all kinds of mediums, because I mean, it's like with anything in life, the more skills that you're able to master, the more you can kind of adapt and do things and be open to different possibilities. So life's all about that. Art's all about that. And yeah, that's kind of where my mind is at with creating. I mean, there's no end when you have an open mind and you're always willing to learn something new. That's one of the biggest things I've learned as being an artist too, is that I kind of, before I was really into art, I thought I had everything figured out. I thought I knew a lot of stuff. I've had some awakenings, and I really learned that like one of the biggest things to being happy and also being creative is being open to learn new things. Being open to learn new things is one of like the most beneficial things I've ever learned in my life. We're still learning every day.
That's awesome, man. And yeah, I mean, Matthew, I think this is something that you can probably speak to a little bit too. You know, both in relation to sort of your relationship with Widge as an artist, but also in creating the sort of Artist Replete platform. Do you want to talk a little bit about what that creative process was like? And
oh yeah, definitely. So Widge was pretty much one of the first artists that I ever represented, and this was back not too long ago. In the scheme of things, it was around 2015 or so, and I was just selling artwork off of Instagram. I didn't have a website. I didn't have anything. It was just kind of like this passion of mine where I just really loved art, and it was kind of a side hustle, I guess you could say. But I just really fell in love with it as time went on, and I noticed that there was a big gap in the industry, and with the dawn of the internet, things were changing in that industry, and there wasn't a lot of people really taking advantage of the change, and there wasn't really there was something needed in that world that needed to be created. A lot of artists, they weren't finding comfort in galleries. Not all artists, but many, they weren't, just because there's a really high commission structure with them. Usually they take 50% commission, and there's a contractual agreement, and it's tough for a lot of artists to give away half of your earnings. So I wanted to create something that was more in tune with what they were looking for. And it just started really small. I think all great ideas start with just wanting to change something, update something, even if it's a little change, and kind of just help an industry out. So that's what the initial idea was, is just how can I make a better world for artists to live in, that's going to be more exciting for them to live in. And it just started on Instagram, and Widge was one of my first guys I ever represented. And it kind of went from there. I was like, hey, maybe I can help another artist. Hey, maybe I can help another artist. And in the long run, a lot of them have helped me too, because they've made it so I've been able to live a life where I'm completely working for myself, and I have them to thank for that. But yeah, I saw Widge, I think it was around 2015, maybe it was in 2014, right around there. And I just thought he had great work. Thought he was really hungry. He was talented. He had a show in Chicago. I think, was it 2015, Widge? Was that the first time we met?
2015 sounds about right.
Yeah, so he had a show there, and I met him in person, and then we spoke from there, and we just kind of just stayed in touch, and then things developed. And then when I had my first kind of show with him, that's where Ahmed Flex came in, and he really pushed the show. He helped with Mala was involved in it, and he was just a major contributing factor to the success of that show. And then really things just blossomed from there. And right around the time this show happened, which I believe was 2016, maybe 2017, or right around there, which had a Huffington Post article released on him. And at that point, I thought to myself, I'm like, okay, maybe I'm pretty good at picking artists. I saw this guy years before this major publication decided to write about him. Maybe I have an eye for this, because in the beginning, it was just like, it was a side hustle. It was just something I enjoyed doing. I really loved art. I really liked that I was working with someone and bringing awareness to them. And I liked that I was, creating a market for somebody. And that really gave me the confidence, having Mala, having Flex, and having that show just be wildly successful, and having this major publication write about him. I was just like, everything was just started kind of pushing me in the direction to make this business a reality from there. So that was kind of like the major spark that lit the flame that made me just continue to create this business to what it is today.
And Flex, you are in the space of, I think, like entrepreneurship, social enterprise are areas that are of interest to you, and that you've certainly done your own work in. And now working with Mala, which is an organization which does so much work in the arts and culture space, and specifically with artists. How have you used sort of your own perspective on the relationship between art and community to sort of build this Mala platform? How does that figure into the organization's mission and activities, and sort of how Mala goes about building communities and relationships?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that question. Mala's mission actually is focused on storytelling, right? So, and storytelling is also a form of art. And you can tell stories in through so many different mediums. You can do it through a painting, you can do it through a song, you can do it through photography. There's so many ways to tell a story. So with that being said, the way we normally share the stories is we share audio clips through partnerships we have with StoryCorps, but a huge contributor in our platform scaling when we first started were artists. Because for example, one of an artist that we worked with was a photographer. And every time he went and took a picture or of someone in the community, he would tell them about our organization and ask them if they were willing to answer a few questions, set them a set of questions, and that Q&A were basically sort of like our intake to like ask them if they want to share a full story, where do they want to go, from here. And then we would basically on the platform promote, that artist, and also find ways to give that artist a grant to travel around the country to pursue, his passion. So while he's, building his book, his portfolio for photography, he's also helping us collect stories. And the other storytelling medium we work with is, films, and films employ a lot of different, people in the creative, industry, makeup artists, photographers, like you name it. So there's so much creativity involved. When you look at the ending of a film and you see the amount of people, for example, that work on an X-Men movie, you're looking at over 11,000 people. So, and all those people have different jobs, and even like traditional jobs like accounting or whatever. But creativity, fuels business. So what I first did is I went after people that were artists or people that were interested in art to help fuel growth of the organization. And that's where our community events were built on. So people would come to events where there are, experiences, hence, my new title. I would create experiences where people would come and experience, art through different ways, whether it be a film screening, whether it be an exhibit, and I've known Matt for a while now, and we met through just mutual friends and doing events. But Matt, you also was a model, and I think he's still modeling. But at some point,
I'm not. No, definitely not.
You're not.
I wasn't even back then. It was like toying around. This guy's putting me on the spot right here.
Well, I mean, I have to put you on the spot because there's a fascinating story. Because
Yeah.
I got on the board of Midwest Fashion Week, and we did an event that was art meets fashion. You turned into the piece of art, because the whole.
Oh yeah, my gosh, that was a long time ago, man.
You were the canvas, and the artist literally painted, on you. So
yeah.
So thank you for being a good sport. But when I looked at what you were doing and with Artist Replete and starting a business, through Instagram, what I also noticed is you were doing storytelling, and you were telling stories of all these artists from different neighborhoods. And what really struck me is the diversity in the people that you were working with. So I already saw where this was going. Because of my experience in tech and, how to build platforms and all that stuff. And I was like, well, how can I be, a partner and see how I can help you, just as a friend, because you're doing something positive. And then, from then on, we just used a similar model to build partnerships. And that's how we scaled the organization. And at some point, we got connected with Widge, and then Widge also made a donation, one of his pieces to our gala, So all of this was just like organic. It wasn't, hey, what's the transaction? There was no, the thought process was not that way. Well, how can we, grow together and also help, each other and help people that are around us. And I'm telling you, when a gentleman who received the painting, Dr. Raj, who was one of our first donors, received that painting, he cried. First of all, he was not expecting, a painting, and he's never gotten a painting as a gift, which was awesome. And secondly, that painting meant a lot to him because the image of Ganesh, who's an Hindu god, was on there, and he's Hindu supporting a Muslim, organization. And then, and Matt and Widge, both of you are not Muslim, but you're still supporting a Muslim organization, because at the end of the day, that's the message that we wanted to share with people, that no matter what is happening in the world, no matter what's happening in the news and all of this stuff, it's all noise. It's just, you gotta bring, people together, and your mission of what you were doing with Artist Replete, aligned with what we were doing. So it was just natural. It was just organic.
For sure.
Definitely. And I think like one point that you touched on too, Flex, that I want to kind of throw back to Matthew is, there's a lot of things that are really, I think, unorthodox and innovative about the way Artist Replete is run and is working. I think one of those is obviously, the diversity of artists that you work with, Matthew. You say a little bit about what is that experience like in terms of connecting with artists, representing artists who, whose methods and mediums may be considered kind of non-traditional, or at least like non-classical?
Yeah. Well, why I do think, proper education is the foundation for success for many people. I think within the art industry, it kind of doesn't have a set of rules. So a lot of the artists that I work with, which included, they're self-taught. And when you're spending that much time teaching yourself something, I've found that the love and the obsession is there to a really big degree. They're down. They created this path for themselves, and they have no idea where it's going to go, but they're just absolutely obsessed. So for me, when I pick artists, I don't really focus on who's popular, who's cool, who's getting all the tabloid, who's like getting all the interviews. I just find work that I think is really intriguing, really just unique. And then I find the people behind them, if I can get along with them, and if they're hungry, and if the most importantly is I care about all the people who purchase on the website, and I want them to not only be buying artwork, but investing in somebody who is obsessed with their craft, who's obsessed with getting better at their craft, who's obsessed with expanding their work. It's not just a hobby that they're doing in between their job. It's something that they have chosen as a life path. So I kind of look for all those elements within everyone I work with. There's no particular style of work that I try to find. If something just catches my eye and I feel like, this guy's really, or girl is really on to something, then I'll reach out and go from there. And my partnerships with everyone, they're long term. I want to create markets, meaning that maybe one year we'll sell for one price, and then that price will change as the years go on. But within that market, we have a lot of people who own things that accumulate value over time. So some people will literally have a hanging investment in their house. And great artwork is not inexpensive. It's a luxury item, but I do my best to sell luxury items that I think have a lot of value to them and have a great story behind them, and come from artists that are just extremely dedicated to their craft. They're just utterly obsessed. So I guess that's the best way I could sum it up.
Sorry. No, that's perfect. And yeah, Widge, I mean, Matthew keeps using this word hungry to describe you, which I think is awesome. And, I know that you are in the somewhat, I think, rare position for someone of your age, where, you do art full time for a living. Can you talk a little bit about kind of like what it took to be able to get to that point of being sort of subsistent on your work?
Absolutely.
And I guess kind of like the difference between being I guess I'll say like a hungry artist and a starving artist. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, The biggest thing behind it is passion. Like, I originally didn't start painting to make money. I painted because I liked to paint, and that's still my main thing. If I don't sell another painting for the rest of my life, I'll still make paintings just because it's a way for me to express myself. Really, that's what it comes down to. And the byproducts, like making money and all that kind of stuff, and meeting people, getting able to travel and do stuff like that, that just comes with the passion. I think those are things that putting in the time over years kind of starts to, I mean, I'm still very young in my art career, and I'm still have so much to go. And just what I've seen so far with what I do, the main thing I learned is the more I paint, the more I like make a living for myself. So that's my like main mission. I'm just going to keep painting and doing that. So that's kind of like, I've had people that I've known and other stuff like that, that try to just get into things because they see money in it, and it never works out. It doesn't last long, and it's not fulfilling, and they end up hating whatever they did because they're like, it didn't work out for me. And I was like, well, you did it for the wrong reasons. You didn't do it because you loved it. And that was one of the things that really caught my eye with Matthew. Was when we met originally, it was never like about making money. He literally wanted to help me, and I liked what he was doing, and I wanted to help him. And we just had like a great relationship. Money aside, all that stuff aside, it was just like a friend building another friend. And that's why I appreciate what he does so much. And it's such a good relationship to have. And yeah, I mean, it's good to be hungry too. Like, that's what fuels passion. That's what fuels you to, and motivates, at least me. I don't know how other people are, but for me, being hungry is awesome because that means you have more to work towards. You're not full. You don't have everything that you want or everything that you desire maybe. So it's like, if that goes away, you almost could get lazy, or I don't know. At least for me, being hungry is awesome. I like it. I don't like to be starving, but being hungry is good. You need to be hungry. You need to be willing to do work, and you need to be willing to put in the time and the effort into what you love. That's the only way that you'll truly be happy, and everything kind of work in your favor as you grow.
And, you know, I think like another thing that we talked about was in terms of your sort of journey as an artist. You know, you're located in Arizona. And one thing we discussed is like a lot of sort of younger aspiring artists feel like they need to make that move to New York or to Chicago or to these big sort of urban hubs to develop. And we talked about that, and you were like, no, I've never felt like I needed to do that.
Yeah.
Why is that? I mean, talk a little bit about your community in Arizona. And
Okay. Well, don't get me wrong. Places like Chicago, I mean, every time I go to Chicago, I recently was just in Miami too. These places are amazing for art. They're full of artists. They're full of art style. They're full of art life, which is awesome. But for me, at least, I thrive in kind of more of a calm setting and being secluded. I don't know if that's how everyone operates, but at least me, I like being alone a lot. So being here in Arizona is awesome for me because I get to go to these places and have fun. And I mean, I'm very excited once all this, once the world kind of opens back up and we can travel again. Like, I'm so ready to get out to Chicago and hang with Matthew for a while and chill with all the artists he knows and really do some cool art out there. But for the time being, I mean, Arizona is awesome. I get to work on myself. I don't have many distractions here, and it's very chill. And I mean, being an artist and working for yourself, you can operate really anywhere. It's not about being in a certain place. That's another thing that kind of goes with doing it for money. Like, if you're just thinking, oh, I need to be an artist and move to New York or something, or LA, that's kind of the wrong way to go about it. If your life leads you there naturally and organically, sure, I would love to have a studio in Chicago, but right now I've been working here, and it works out very nicely. It's calm, like I said. I thrive in kind of seclusion a little bit, and it gives me so much time to work on what I do and really stay focused into my pursuit into the art world.
yeah, and so Matthew, like from your perspective, how have you managed or navigated kind of doing these sort of like more remote relationships with Widge and with other artists you work with? Is that something that's been a challenge or?
It's been exciting, to be honest with you, because when I created the platform, I had to structure it in a different way. I was like, okay, if I'm going to make this business, it needs to be a business that operates differently and operates in a way where, of course, having it be profitable, but having it be impactful for a lot of lives. So what I found is in different pockets throughout the US and honestly throughout the world, I'm getting to that part later on in the business, but I'm still in North America mostly. But throughout these different pockets, different neighborhoods are extremely talented artists. And a lot of them don't live around galleries or places where they can really display their work and blast it out to a lot of people. And the ones that do live near galleries, a lot of the galleries don't even want to take them on, or the relationship just isn't there. So I've found that, I've made these connections through social media in these different pockets throughout the US where the individual is supremely talented and we don't really need a storefront in a physical location because we have like the online presence from there, so just a few days ago which sold a 60 by 60 piece on my website, and the person is from Chicago, and it's one of many sales that have happened online. And and logistically, as long as we talk it over, okay, box it, ship it, from there, that's really all there is to it. So art over the years has the industry has really changed. We always try and view things physically, but we don't even have that option anymore, so we kind of look to recreate that environment online the best we can to experience what a piece of art would look like if you were standing close to it, or photos of it, scale, size of it, everything. We try and do that online. So I've found that there are a lot of great minds, and the best artists many of them haven't even been discovered yet, because they're in quiet little neighborhoods, just like kind of working away. And when you're an artist, I consider them you're a business, and you need a marketing side of your business, and to create a ton of paintings and then to spend a bunch of time marketing, like that's like a company right there. So it was kind of just creating off the idea of a company. A lot of artists are great at marketing too, but my idea was relieving some of that burden and putting it in my hands where I can market it, because just as an artist takes years to grow that skill set and that following and all that, it takes years to really master marketing where you can sell things for high ticket prices online. This is years of different growth and development, and when you have these two forces together, it really can be something powerful. So my art, a lot of people have asked me, hey Matt, don't you want to see all these artists making cool stuff and then you're selling their work, don't you want to be an artist? I'm like, there's I don't think the world needs necessarily another artist. I think there's plenty of amazing artists now, and I think there should be honestly more, but from my position, I think there needs to be more platforms out there that make it easier for them to sell their work, make the environment fun and exciting for them to want to create more and more work, so that they know that it'll be displayed to a lot of eyeballs. And yeah, I guess that's the best way to sum it up.
Yeah. Flex, you work in sort of the entrepreneurial space quite a bit, and have sort of in the past 9-10 months been working increasingly, I think, in kind of like the virtual community building space as well, just sort of given the reality with the COVID-19 pandemic. I mean, what are your thoughts on sort of what Matthew is saying about the need for these connectivity platforms for artists, but I think also just for general, we're living in a time where a lot of us are trying to redefine what it means to connect with other people.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, the world has changed. Quite drastically over the past, decade, even, and then now more so because of the pandemic. We're all in this virtual world. So there's a lot of disadvantages, but there's also advantages. For example, I know a young lady who is a poet and she's writing her book, but she's also a mother of three, and she's in real estate. And she just started real estate a year ago, and she now doing really well in real estate because she doesn't necessarily have to hire a babysitter. She can do virtual showings. And then the more income that she's making from real estate, she's having more time with her kids, but also more time to work, on her art. So with me, where I come into play and where Mala comes into play is we just teach people about how to, use resources that are available sometimes for free. I mean, think about Instagram. Instagram is a free tool. Back in the day, if you wanted to advertise, you had to go through the traditional route, and that costed money. But now you can build your brand online for free using these tools like Instagram and Facebook, and tell your story and build an audience, build a community, engage with them constantly. But then the interesting thing too is also it gives you all the extra software to get data, right? So you're knowing what posts are people engaging with, and people will tell you what paintings they like, and then from there, that helps you because it creates a feedback loop, for you. So these are all business tools that 20 years ago it would have been so expensive to use, right? So it's so much easier to start a business, these days. But it's not about just starting a business. It's about building a brand. It's about building value. What's your value proposition? And also, what's your personal brand and what's your business brand, right? Because a lot of people try to disconnect from that, or like focus maybe on themselves more than, their business, but as an artist, in someone who's in business, you have to think about who's going to be your end user, who's going to be your client, who are you going to, sell to? And people struggle with that. I mean, I went to business school and there was no class on sales, but we're all selling something. I mean, doctors need patients, so at the end of the day, entrepreneurship is very important. A lot of people, like me, listen to Gary Vee all the time, and all the stuff that he preaches, because with the internet, there's so much you can do. You can do business with anyone in the world. I mean, when we started doing our virtual events, people started joining, from all over the world. So our focus is more on a national scale, but we're also connected with the UN in ECOSOC. So we have an ECOSOC accreditation where we've done a lot of UN events. So that was great for us because then we can really measure what we're doing. But from an entrepreneurship perspective, we all need to learn these tools because they're here to stay. The way we did business in the past is not going to be the way we're going to be doing business in the future. And if you're, right now talking about TikTok and saying, oh, why are people on TikTok? Well, it's a generational shift, So casting directors are going to look at TikTok, because it can search for certain talents and see those people's, work, their reels. Back in the day when, as an actor, when you would create a reel, you had to get all your work together and do all this. But now you can just build your brand and have all those videos, stored for you. So there's all these, free tools from an entrepreneurial, sense. And that's what we educate, people on, and also connect them, with our long list of partners. So for example, culturally speaking, our families, coming from a Muslim family, are very focused on making sure you go to college and you get a degree and, maybe in medicine and being a lawyer and accountant, but an artist, maybe that's not something that is of much interest, to your parents. So, but they don't know about how much money the guys who do the Marvel, films make, how much money, that's made in art, especially right now. But we become that mentor, for the younger, generation. And to me, by having a relationship with Widge, having a relationship with Matthew, just one call, I can connect that kid with someone who has that industry knowledge, and now they have someone who can help, guide them. I mean, in fact, Matthew even wrote a book, to help artists, understand the business of art and what you need, to be, successful. So with us as an organization that's focused on storytelling, on arts and culture, and music, film, all that work, it helps to have, these, partnerships, and that's how you grow a community organically.
Yeah, I think that's super important, and I think, you're right to make the connection between branding sort of an organization or a company and also like personal brand. And I'm curious, Widge, like what your experience has been with sort of building your own brand, because you do have a really very solid presence, very, I think, definitive brand. Um, I don't know if you're on TikTok or not, but curious about your own experience sort of building your brand.
Yeah, for sure. I am on TikTok, by the way. It's just, I mean, like Flex said, there's so many tools nowadays that you can use at your fingertips, and just like, it's really crazy. I think one of my favorite tools, though, honestly, is what Matthew has created. Matthew to date has sold more paintings out of anyone that has represented me or sold my paintings in the past. He's sold more of them because of the tool he's created, the tool of Artist Replete. That is so valuable. The painting that we just sold the other day, I would not have had that client if it wasn't for Matthew. Matthew's brand that he's built brings people in to discover artists who are undiscovered. That is literally huge. And I'm so thankful for that. I'm so thankful that Matthew has kind of created a place for artists that are like, you don't have to have a name, which is really cool, because like a lot of people look for that kind of stuff. But also besides that Artist Replete is one of the coolest tools ever. But just the stuff like Instagram, all that stuff, if you're consistent with it and you truly display what you do yourself, it's so easy to brand what you want to do, because it's there for everyone to look at. You don't, like Flex was saying, you don't have to pay for it. It's free. It's at our fingertips. We don't have to. It's not like the old school ways. It's all out there for us. So I think just taking advantage of all that stuff, social media especially, is cool. It's so helpful, and it's super easy. And if you just kind of apply the time that it takes to make it look kind of nice, it works out really well. But social media and kind of like what Matthew does is a little bit different. I think Matthew's is like, that's like the key tool. That's one of my favorite tools ever, because he really does. I mean, he connects me with people who I would never have sold paintings to ever, and all over the United States too. It's awesome. Someone in Kansas could find Matthew's website who's in Chicago and buy art from me who's in Arizona. That's crazy. That's super cool. I love that.
So cool. Matthew, what are your thoughts? I mean, I know you've spoken a little bit already about creating Artist Replete in the brand, but I'm curious about also like what advice would you offer to artists, aspiring artists, for building, sort of like Flex was talking about, building that own sort of personal brand?
Yeah. Well, first I want to say that realize that we are in a whole different time period, whole different chapter in the art world. I think many artists get involved and they're like, okay, I need to have some big time gallery representation. I got to be featured here, 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 or else I'm not legitimate at all. That is like furthest from the case now. You can represent yourself. You can create a small team amongst your friends. You can do it however you want, and you can find success in that. I wrote a small book about this. It's called From Bricks to Clicks. I'm not some award-winning writer, but I'm working on it, and in it, I just talk about the power of what art is online. and how the transition has really changed. You know, the whole art gallery model, the whole buying and selling artwork, you know, this is like a century, over a century old model that was created never with the thought of having a system like the internet intact. So it's literally someone created this idea, and it was way pre-internet, you know? So now that we have all these tools, you can get in front of just so many more eyeballs. And you can really stop thinking about who in my neighborhood or who in my city can I sell to. You know, you can think about who, like, you know, in anywhere in the North America can I sell to. As long as you start getting comfortable shipping stuff, then you can sell to anyone. You know, there are millions of small towns throughout the US that have no art galleries, no pockets where they can buy art. You know, all of those people are going to go online, and all of them are going to search for something that speaks to them, you know, and might as well do the best you can to have that something be your work, you know? So, so yeah, I tell to all artists, and even ones that reach out for representation, you know, because I only have so much time, you know, that I can donate to representing all the artists that I do, and I try and make it a lot of time. I try and make every artist I work with like a personal journey with them. So with that said, I tell artists that I can't represent or I don't work with, that you have the full ability to represent yourself, and you can do it, and you can build a team amongst your friends to do it. Like, this all started out just because somebody I knew, you know, I had a day job, somebody that I knew said, hey, do you want to help sell my artwork? And I was like, well, what can I make? You know? And he was like, well, come up with a commission. And I looked up online, and then the business started forming. This was like a side hustle. Millions of people, I'm sure, would love side hustles. You can create a team amongst people. You don't really need a giant establishment. Sure, when you want to sell things $5, $10, $15,000, it's going to take a master marketer to make those sales. But before that, you know, you have free reign over yourself. So never think if you submit work to somebody and they say it's not good, or they say it's not for me, that they are correct, you know, because Widge will tell you, I think he's submitted his work to a bunch of galleries and many of them have said no. But then this little organization called Huffington Post said, yes, this guy is the next one up, you know? So it shows how much that industry, like, you know, that physical part of the industry really knows. This is like a Wild West territory. People whose opinions think are one way doesn't mean that they're true. So never believe that. I think as long as you're consistent, and you're willing to sacrifice time, and you're willing to just keep on evolving, then it will work. If you're jumping into it, just like as Widge said, if you're jumping into it and you're like, I want to make tons of money right away, it's just not going to happen like that. Consider the first time you pick up your paintbrush, consider that, you know, as class has just begun. You know, you're in your first day of college or whatever. And if you want to start making doctor money, like how many years in college do they have to attend? You know, then you're going to have to put that much time and years into your craft, teaching yourself, you know, and that's just the best way that I can do it, you know. Or I could say it, you know, there was just a ton of space out there for people to grow, and you have such an advantage. You just have to realize that advantage. And that is my long-winded answer.
No, that's perfect, Matthew, and I think really well put. And I think so much of what all three of you are discussing, and so much of this sort of story that we're kind of collectively trying to tell, is about leveraging inspiration. I think finding inspiration, but then also pointing that in the right direction and sort of keeping your head on your shoulders. And I think that's really wonderful advice. We're kind of coming to the end of our time, but I want to sort of close out kind of in that spirit. Ask each of you to offer just a couple closing thoughts on what is inspiring you right now in this moment, and kind of how that's helping you either get through this sort of current chapter or step into the next chapter. And Flex, I'd love to start with you if that's all right.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think what's inspiring me right now is seeing all these, folks um, represent themselves online and create, products and businesses. So there's, a famous show on TV, right? Shark Tank, and the spirit of America when you watch shows like that, where people come and talk about, their entrepreneurship journey and the business that they want to build. But that's only one show. But when you go online on an Instagram or any of these other platforms, you can see so many people creating businesses. I mean, I'm in so many different Facebook groups, and one of them is for African American, business owners, and there's over 100,000 business owners on there. So the inspiration that I get from all those folks, the support that I get, because at the end of the day, if you're trying to build, something, you need that support structure. It doesn't matter, who you are. A lot of people choose this self-made, promote this self-made mantra and say, okay, well, I'm self-made and so on. I'm like, no one's, self-made. People get inspiration from. I go to the Art Institute in Chicago to get inspiration, and for me, inspiration for me is coming from art, from entrepreneurship, and people that are creators, right? And with Mala, that's has been our sort of our value proposition is how can we help people that are looking for that just little bit of edge to go to the next level? How can we become a catalyst for someone's journey? And storytelling was the key. So I'm really happy about the platform that we built. I'm very happy about the partnerships that we built, because our brand is very unique. I mean, we do business with Facebook, with so many different brands that the average person recognizes, right? But at the same time, we're still a grassroots organization. We're in the community. We go to local events, and Chicago has actually been a great city to start this project, and I'm glad that it started as a community project, because that's how it grew. It's just mini community projects that have become one giant project. But the people that are involved in it, and not just me, but our advisory council, our board, all our supporters and so on, in the community in general, are people that are in it because of the mission. So because we sold people on the why and what we're trying to do early on. And again, like Widge said, if you're invested in something for money, and if you're, if there's, it's, you have to find, meaning, and there has to be, purpose. And the way we do it is we get people to share their story first, and people will be surprised how much meaning and how much purpose is within their own story. And from there, they find out that they have a passion that they have unlocked somewhere in a long time ago. And that's where we come in and say, hey, why do you want to come do a speaking engagement? Do you want to come, participate in a photography event? Do you want to do this? And once those hurdles that people put on themselves, or that passion that they decided, it's not for me, once they realize that it's attainable, and by working with us and the platform that we've built, it just changes people's lives. And I've seen so many people shift industries because of that, which is a beautiful feeling to see people love, like, pursuing their passions. And it made sense working with Artist Replete and Matthew, because he's doing the same thing. Chicago is a city of 77 neighborhoods, and there's so many artists that, like he said, that don't have access to galleries. But right now, with the work that he's doing, he's helping elevate those voices and amplify the stories of those artists. Because we can talk about this for a long time. Business has changed, and so is the art of selling art. Has changed, and also younger people are buying art. So, and artists don't need to starve. Because if we don't have artists in this world, we don't have inspiration.
Thanks, Flex. That's perfect, man. Matthew, what's inspiring you right now?
I think it is just the way that everyone is pushing to survive and exist and to do well in the current times that we're in. For me, I recently did my first virtual exhibition, and this is in a physical space, so people can walk around in a physical space. It's at this place called Pilsen Yards, and the restaurant hasn't even opened to the public yet, but people are able to go inside the space now and look at artwork in a way that feels a bit like they're there. They're able to click on things, learn more. There's speakers in the space. You can click on it and you can listen to artist playlists. So with that said, I think just kind of adapting to the times we're in is really inspiring. Just know that right now, anyone that has an online voice, it's amplified. You have a megaphone right now. The amount of people that were online, a year ago to compare to the amount that is online right now, is like ×3, ×4. So really know that in your approach in business, and know that you can survive, you can get past this, you can learn from this, you can gain new knowledge, you can gain new skill sets, and you can really come out of what seems like a really difficult time with a whole new set of skills. And that's just, I think, an inspiring thing to me right now.
Thanks, Matthew.
Yeah.
Widge, what about you? What's inspiring you right now?
So one thing that just caught my mind was a line that Matthew said a few minutes ago, where he said, these artists, when someone picks up a brush, like classes in session. That is extremely inspiring to me. That makes me want to pick up my brush right now and start some more class. Like, continuing to learn and expanding your capabilities is ultimately inspiring to me. That is what I hope everybody in the world can experience, what it's like to expand your potential and learn something out of the sake of passion instead of like monetary value. Of course, monetary value comes with some passions and whatnot, but the feeling of fulfilling a passion and bettering yourself from that passion is unexplainable. It's one of the coolest things you could ever experience. That really inspires me. And also, just even how crazy life is right now, I feel like people are really striving to do better things and make this world kind of a better place in some ways. And that's also really inspiring too. I really love life. Life is inspiring. Just being alive in this point in time, it's, in the grand scheme of things, we are only alive for such a short blink of an eye. So being able just to know all the people that I know and hang out with all you guys and have these conversations, this is the kind of stuff that's inspiring. This is what makes me want to just explore all the possibilities I could ever do and really try my best to be the best person I can be. And I hope that people, or the majority of people on this earth, have that same feeling as well, because it's a very special thing to realize your potential and really dive in and try to better yourself on that.
Yeah, I think that's really like the perfect place to kind of leave off here. We are running low on time. I could talk to y'all all day. But I do just want to kind of close out. Thank you, and thank Widge, Matthew, and Flex for all being a part of this conversation, sharing this story. Certainly much more to learn from all of you guys, so we'll have to have you back. And then I just want to, on behalf of all of us and on behalf of Mala, wish everybody a safe and healthy holiday season, and hope that you are feeling inspired by something or by many things, and I think that's it. Thank you so much, gentlemen, again, and stay tuned. We'll be back with some more cool discussions soon, hopefully.
Awesome.
Thank you, guys.
See ya.
Very fun.